I have done it. I have officially gone through every single LEGO game, and now I'm going to rank them all. LEGO games were a huge part of my childhood, and I'm sure it was the same for a lot of you. That's why I thought it'd be fun to revisit my favorites and try out the ones I've never played, so we can talk all about the good, the bad, and the weird. We'll get there. Don't worry. Now, am I totally sick of LEGO games after this and don't even want to look at another one for at least 5 years? Yes, but it's fine. I'm here to provide you with some nostalgia as we go through every single one and put them on this tier list. We have a lot of games to cover, so let's not fool around with an intro or anything. We're just gonna jump right into it. We've just got a basic tier list here, you know, S is best of the best, A is still really good, but not as good as S. B is just, you know, I like it, C is neutral, D is I don't like it, and F is just bad. I'd also like to mention that I'm only ranking the LEGO games that are based on licensed properties like Star Wars and Batman. Not all these other LEGO games that apparently exist that I've never heard of. We're gonna go through these games in chronological order from the first one that was released to the most recent. And we're not going to include any mobile-only games, okay? We're talking main consoles here. If I happen to miss a game, please blame the Wikipedia because that was my source. And before we begin, here's my disclaimer to not consider anything I say in this video as a serious review. I'm just here to give my thoughts and opinions while trying to be funny. Emphasis on trying. Basically, we're just here to have fun. This isn't IGN. I'm not a serious reviewer. I'm just some dork on the internet. But okay, without further ado, let's rank some LEGO games. LEGO creator Harry Potter is our first game on the list, and I had never heard of it before this. In this game, you can complete cute little missions where you build things, or hunt down Draco Malfoy.
Use the arrow keys on your keyboard to line up your target with Malfoy, and then fire away!
As you complete these tasks, you're accompanied by this painting who never shuts up.
Would you believe that Ron Weasley has lost his pet rat, Scabbers, again? Can you help Hedwig find her way to deliver the post to Harry? Hedwig will fly between the posts you have put in the world. Would you like to learn about casting spells? That's right. Click and drag railway track pieces into your world. Can you move and turn them around to let the Hogwarts Express get to the tunnel?
Once you finish a mission, you're rewarded with a short cutscene. And that's it. That's the game. The LEGO games really did have small beginnings. It's fun to see where everything started because it's very different from the LEGO games most of us know and love. It's not bad for the first one, but when I'm comparing it to all the other games on this list, I think it's pretty obvious that LEGO creator Harry Potter is going in the F tier. As you may have guessed from the title, this game is very similar to the last one. We're back in the world of Harry Potter, completing tasks with our painting friend.
Try clicking on it and watch what happens. I wanted to leave the ground behind, and this button here can help. Click it now.
The main differences are that this game looks better, the world is bigger, so there's more for you to explore, and there are characters wandering around. You also have more freedom when it comes to creating things in this one, which is pretty cool. But my favorite thing about this game is Hagrid. Picture this. You are exploring the wizarding world of Harry Potter. In the distance, you see the beloved character Hagrid, so you approach him, excited to interact with him. What was that? Why does Hagrid just wander around while making this noise? This is so stupid, but I'm kind of obsessed with it. It almost makes me want to bump this game up to the D tier, but I'm not going to. This is an improvement over the last one, and it's cute, but it still doesn't compare to all the other games on this list. F tier. Okay, this is a huge upgrade from the last game. LEGO games have pretty much already reached the quality and style we're familiar with. This one follows the prequel films, but with the comedic LEGO twist that we all know and love. Maybe. I don't know, maybe you don't love it. We've got the classic LEGO levels that go through each part of the story. Shockingly, the iconic building mechanic wasn't in this game, so you're mostly just fighting enemies and collecting studs with the occasional simple puzzles. Some characters have specific abilities that only they can do, like Jar Jar Binks can jump high, and Yoda can ride around in this sick car because he's too slow otherwise. Woo! Go Yoda! Aside from that, the character abilities aren't anything too crazy, which is fine. This is the first game in this style. The levels themselves are pretty fun, and I remember as a kid, I really liked this one, and it's just because you got to play as a droid that looked like R2-D2, who I thought was adorable at the time. The cutscenes are also actually pretty funny. In the early LEGO games, the characters don't talk, they just make noises. Nope, not those noises. As you'll see throughout the video, I much prefer when the characters don't talk. I think it adds a special charm to these games, and I think the comedy actually works really well. Now, as someone who has only seen bits and pieces of the prequel films, I had no clue what was going on in this story since there wasn't any dialogue, but I didn't care. I still liked it. When I first started going through these games, I thought that this one would be in the S tier for being the first real Lego game, but I've since changed my mind and it's going in the B tier. Don't worry, I'll explain my logic later. I'm sure you could tell from the title, but this one follows the original Star Wars trilogy. And much like the movies, this game is much better than the prequels. Star Wars fans, please don't kill me. It was a joke. I'm really not that knowledgeable on the series, okay? I just know that that's the majority opinion. Building is a thing now. Yay! The levels are a lot more enjoyable in this game. It just feels like they're longer, you go to more locations, and there's so much more to explore. There's also this mechanic that I think is pretty neat, where you can put the helmet of stormtroopers on and pretend to be them, so you can access areas you wouldn't normally be allowed in. And when you first encounter enemies when you have the helmet on, they won't attack you because they think you're one of them. That's just cool, okay? Speaking of cool things, the hub world is also pretty fun in this game. It's the cantina, and different characters will be wandering around. You can customize your own character and accept bounty missions that you can play through. Overall, this game is just a classic, and we're really starting to see the Lego formula come to life here. Lego Star Wars 2 is going in the A tier. It's great, but it's not going in the S tier because it's still not as good as the next game on this list. Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga takes the last two games and combines them into one. You're getting the best of both worlds here. The last two awesome games, but with some improvements. There's no going wrong here. Well, except for the fact that they got rid of Yoda's sweet ride. Now you're stuck slowly walking around if you want to play as him. Lame. A lot of the hub world is the same in this game, including the bounties, which is behind this locked door. Now, I played this version of Lego Star Wars quite a lot as a kid, and I was pretty stupid because I could not figure out how to unlock this door. I remember talking with my cousin all the time about how we couldn't get the Jabba the Hutt door open. Turns out all you had to do was buy all the bounty hunter characters, and that would unlock it. I was never gonna do that because I thought they looked stupid and I didn't want them. So I was just doomed to keep replaying random levels in hopes that that would somehow unlock the door. Anyway, this is our first S tier. It's a banger. I somehow managed to forget just how amazing this game is. Lego Indiana Jones is so fun. It follows in the footsteps of the last two Lego Star Wars games and gives us long, engaging, fun levels. But it also introduces so many new mechanics that are really cool, and a lot of them aren't in any other Lego games. You can pick up any weapon or object and use it in combat, or throw it at the enemies. You can use Indy's whip to swing around or disarm people. There's this thing called phobias, where certain characters will have a fear and will basically shut down near it, like Indy being scared of snakes. There's platforming and really cool puzzles to solve that fit into the world of the movies perfectly. Heck, even Willie's constant screaming is a game mechanic. The cutscenes and silly comedy are also just getting a lot better too. It's kind of funny how impressed I am with a Lego game, especially one that I played a lot as a kid. It's not even new to me, I just forgot a bunch of stuff about it. Anyway, yeah, this game was definitely going in the S tier. I was so excited to revisit this one because I'm pretty sure this was the first Lego game I ever played. And boy, was I an idiot child. Like most Lego games from this era, the levels are split into 3 episodes, chapters, whatever you want to call them. And there were 5 levels in each episode. Well, my dumb self played the first episode and loved it, but I thought that was it. That was the whole game. I beat it. I replayed the same 5 levels for months before I finally realized there was more. I was really stupid, but also 9 years old, so I'm gonna cut myself some slack. Anyway, this game is still so much fun. You play through an original story where all the villains break out of Arkham and cause chaos in Gotham City. You play as Batman and Robin and catch the bad guys. Having to play as Batman and Robin the whole time isn't even remotely boring because they both have a bunch of different suits that give them different powers, like climbing metal walls, blowing stuff up with bombs, and sucking things up like a vacuum. Okay, that costume's actually kind of lame, but there are better ones. After you finish the story, you're then able to play as the villains, and they have their own story mode and unique abilities. The Riddler can mind control, the Joker can electrocute enemies, and Poison Ivy, yep, you guessed it, can blow poison on people. As a kid, I loved playing as Harley Quinn because she could do backflips. This was peak entertainment to me. The hub for Batman and Robin is the Batcave, but for the villains, it's Arkham, and it's just super chaotic with a bunch of bad guys jumping around and attacking you. Also, I just really love the dark vibe of this game and the music. They just nail Batman perfectly. To no one's surprise, this is going in the S tier. It's just Rock Band, but with Lego characters. there's really nothing special about it. I like Rock Band, it's fun, but I'm ranking Lego games, not Rock Band. And as a Lego game, this is C tier because it feels so random. Remember how pleasantly surprised I was with the first Lego Indiana Jones? Yeah, well, it's the complete opposite with this one. I am so disappointed by this game. I thought it was going to be great because I remember spending a lot of time in this game. I was wrong. So this game adds on the fourth Indiana Jones movie. I noticed that the levels for this movie were kind of, well, bad. Most of the levels were either beat up this many enemies or drive around and destroy these cars. That gets boring pretty quickly. Not to mention the fact that driving in Lego games is clunky and not fun, and those levels go on forever. I remember playing this with my mom as a kid, and she would get so mad at me because I wouldn't stop running into her car and killing her. There weren't many classic Lego levels in this one, and the ones that are there are really short. Also, the camera is really far away from the characters. Like, I can't see. Okay, the levels from the fourth movie sucked, but at least the rest of the game will be fun because it's the first three movies. These are the levels that I loved from the first one. Wrong again. For some stupid reason, they redid all of the levels from the original game and made them just like the new ones. It's all driving and beat 'em ups. Why did they do this? The original was so much fun. I know I played this game a lot as a kid, but I have zero memory of these levels. So then I remembered what I was actually doing in this game the whole time. I was in the build your own level section. I had so much fun making levels and putting stupid amounts of enemies and studs in these sandboxes. I'm sure my levels were all terrible, but I loved it and wasted so much time here. I'll give them a point for that. This is a cool feature. The other thing I spent all my time on was the hub worlds. Each movie got its own huge hub world to explore, which I'm still a fan of. I would just run around the hubs and basically play dolls, but with Lego characters in a game. But yeah, aside from those two things, I'm quite disappointed by this game. C tier. Finally, a Lego Harry Potter game that's not this. So I actually had the DS version of this game as a kid, and usually the DS version of games weren't as good as the main console. So I was expecting to be blown away by this version of Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4, but I wasn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a fun game. You get to learn spells, go to classes, explore Hogwarts in the hub world, but the spells were kind of boring. Hogwarts wasn't as big and fun to explore as it is in years 5 through 7, and the levels themselves were kind of lackluster. They're your typical Lego levels, they're just not as fun or expansive as an Indiana Jones or Batman, which is weird. I thought they would be since we've got, you know, magic, but I found myself getting kind of bored with this game. I genuinely think I like the DS version more. The levels were a lot more in-depth and fun, and spells were really cool because you had to move your stylus around like a wand. There were these mini games for some of the spells too, and I remember really liking the one for Transfiguration. And there was this one spell where whenever you did it, it would knock over Hagrid. I mean, it would actually knock over any of the characters, but for some reason, Child Morgan liked to torment Hagrid specifically. The hub is kind of lame, and the quality is terrible, but the rest of this game slaps, okay? I can't believe I'm saying this, but I like the DS version better. If I were ranking the DS version, it'd be an A or an S, but I'm not. So Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4 is in the B tier. Not a bad game, just not as fun as some of the others. This game was a weird one for me. I've never watched the Clone Wars, so I had no clue who any of these characters were or what they were doing, which usually doesn't bother me in Lego games. But between that and just being kind of burnt out on Star Wars games after the 3 others that came before it, I didn't really enjoy this one. I mean, the opening level is really cool and throws you into the middle of a battle, so I liked that. There's also some interesting new mechanics, like this one, where you'll be playing as one character, but you'll have the ability to switch to another one in a completely different location doing something else. Or there's these battles where you take over enemy bases, which is really different from anything we've seen before. It's cool, but I never really got the hang of it. These are some fun new mechanics, but they balance them out pretty poorly. Sometimes you're stuck doing a bunch of these battle levels in a row, or a bunch of the swapping levels in a row. It makes them get old pretty quick. I feel like I would have enjoyed this game more if I was a Clone Wars fan, so to be fair, I'm putting it in the B tier. Because I mean, there are some new interesting things in this one. Jack Sparrow was destined to be in a Lego game. I don't think there's any character that fits better into this universe than him. It's just perfect. This is another one that I played all the time as a kid. It's got a lot of classic, fun Lego levels, but there's also some really unique ones too. Like this one where you roll around in a cage, or this one where you have to complete tasks for different characters, and I played it so much that my mom grew to hate this level because she was sick of seeing it. Okay, look, I just really liked this part where you have to do this little rhythm mini game and this old guy dances in the back. It was the funniest thing ever to me at the time. There are some new mechanics like Jack's compass, but nothing too spectacular. But this game's levels and cutscenes more than make up for it in my opinion. When I think of what a LEGO game should be, this one always comes to mind. It's most definitely going in the S tier. Okay, talk about an upgrade. The levels are way more fun, and we've got new spells that are a lot more unique and enjoyable to use. The game looks great. It's just all around better than the first one. I have to give a special shout out to the level where you play as the three brothers. It looks amazing, and each of the brothers has their own unique abilities. I mean, one of them can control his dead fiancé. That's awesome. I mean, not awesome that she's dead, but like, it's a cool ability. Boss fights also get an upgrade. In most other LEGO games, boss fights consist of punching the enemy, then that's it. In years 5 through 7, you engage in these magic fights where you have to cast the same spell as your enemy to defeat them. It's not super difficult, but it's totally different from what we've seen up until now. But the true star of this game is the hub world. It's huge. Not only can you explore all of Hogwarts, but also Diagon Alley, London, the train station, and so much more. Plus the hub world will change and expand as you go throughout the story, so it fits with the plot. That's so cool! I spent so much time exploring this hub world as a kid. It is a blast. This is why the hub world from years 1 through 4 didn't impress me. I was spoiled by how amazing this one is. LEGO Harry Potter years 5 through 7 is an easy S tier for me. We've reached the beginning of a new era with this game. The characters in LEGO games can now talk.
Hide and seek. Batman!
As I alluded to earlier, I prefer it when they don't talk. I think there's this special charm to the games that's missing when they gain the ability to speak. It also means there's plenty of opportunity for eye-rolling dialogue.
I don't know who you're referring to.
Come on, Batman. Oh, you were...
Joking! I'm the Joker.
Another issue I have with them talking is that it makes the LEGO games get a little too serious. You're kind of forced to be silly when all they can do is make noises and gestures. You don't really see too much of it in LEGO Batman 2, but down the line, in a lot of the games, it feels like they forgot the goofy comedic bits that made the LEGO games stand out in the first place and stick to a dramatic retelling of the movie it's based on. But we'll get to that later, because I actually don't hate the talking too much in this one. There are still some funny moments, and I was actually kind of interested in the story. Speaking of the story, it's about the Joker and Lex Luthor freeing all of the villains in Arkham and working together to take over. Batman and Robin join forces with Superman to stop them. Also, some other DC superheroes show up at the very end. It's called LEGO Batman DC Superheroes, but aside from Superman, the other heroes are barely in the main story. Which is fine, I guess. I mean, I'd rather the game focus on Batman anyway. Like the first game, Batman and Robin have some new suits to wear, like this one that has the ability of super strength. Oh yeah, buff Batman, looking good. Superman, the other heroes, and the villains have their own unique abilities as well. The main story is actually pretty short, but it's fine because like LEGO Harry Potter, the best thing about this game is the hub world. You get to explore Gotham, and it is massive. I would get lost wandering around pretty often. I also have a really poor sense of direction, so that could be why. But whatever. My point is, the hub world is huge, and it's really fun to explore. Though I'm sad we're leaving my favorite era of LEGO games, I'm still going to put LEGO Batman 2 in the S tier. Okay, so when I said that LEGO games started taking themselves a little too seriously once they started talking, I was mostly referring to this one. LEGO Lord of the Rings is so serious. The silly moments were few and far between. I've never seen Lord of the Rings, so I could be way off base here, but this just felt like a retelling of the films, but in LEGO form and slightly less dark. Which I guess makes sense, because I think these movies are dark. But to me, part of the fun of LEGO games is how they can turn all these different franchises into a lighthearted, silly, goofy game, no matter how dark the original story may be. LEGO Lord of the Rings was very long and very serious. The opening level was pretty awesome, but everything after that was pretty to me. I didn't find it super fun to play. There are some cool mechanics though, like this. Frodo is in this weird ring dimension while another character isn't, and they can do different things. Could I be any more obvious that I don't know anything about this series? But once again, the hub world really shines. Look at the map of it. This has got to be one of the biggest hub worlds we've seen. And yes, I did get lost again. For fans of the movies, this hub world has to be so cool. Oh, also, there's apparently side quests now? What? While I wasn't particularly invested in this one, I realized that this has to be a really cool game for Lord of the Rings fans. So I'm going to put it in the A tier. I am very much not a Marvel fan at all, so this was another one that I struggled to get into. We're playing through an original story with the Marvel superheroes in this one. The seriousness from the last game is gone, luckily, and even though there's some rough dialogue, I liked the return of the goofy vibes. The gameplay wasn't anything too exciting to me. Yeah, all the heroes have different powers, but I found them to be not as fun as the ones from the Batman games. But maybe that's just because I'm not into Marvel. The story felt pretty disjointed, and the levels weren't anything spectacular. We've got another big hub world, but I don't think it's as cool as the ones from the last 3 games. Overall, I'd say I liked this one, but wasn't really into it, so I'll put it into the B tier. But honestly, I think that I'm so neutral towards it because I'm not a Marvel fan. Actually, the most fun I had was hearing some current big-name voice actors playing LEGO characters. Nolan North, Laura Bailey, Troy Baker. What are you doing here? We have now reached the point where I grew out of LEGO games. I had played most of these games as a kid, with Marvel superheroes being the last one. So everything from here on out was uncharted territory for me. We're also reaching the point where I won't have much to say about each individual game as we go on. LEGO has pretty much found their formula at this point, and they're sticking with it. So there won't be dramatic differences with each game. It's going to be a lot of the same, which makes it hard to talk about. The first game of this era is the LEGO Movie video game. It follows the plot of the LEGO Movie, meaning they didn't make original cutscenes for this game. They just play scenes straight from the movie. Talk about lame! I don't really like the way this game plays. I found the levels to be very boring because a lot of them just take place in a big area that you can see most of from the very start, and you slowly progress through it. There's also this new mechanic where sometimes instead of just building things, you have to do this puzzle where you have to select which piece comes next, and I just found it to be annoying. The game was a snooze fest for me, but that's probably because it's meant for children, and I am an adult. But that won't stop me from putting it in the D tier. This one's got better levels and is slightly less serious than Lord of the Rings. There were more silly classic LEGO moments in this one, and I was more entertained by the gameplay. And the hub world is just as cool. In fact, they made it a little bit bigger. More places for me to get lost. Yay! I'd say it's on par with Lord of the Rings, so it's going in the A tier. Okay, I really do have a lot less to say about this era of games. What do I even say about this game? Let me start with the positives. There are some new suits for Batman and Robin to wear, and some new mini games. I think that's all I liked. This game is just absolutely unhinged. Most of it takes place in space. Space! Part of what made the first 2 games a success is how they nailed the aesthetic of Gotham, and it was really fun to explore. And yet, in LEGO Batman 3, they were like, let's just remove Gotham from the game. We're going to space. And the hub world is just a bunch of different planets. That'd be cool in a different game, but not LEGO Batman. Also, this game is called LEGO Batman, but it feels more like LEGO Justice League. After the first few chapters of the game, a bunch of other DC heroes get introduced, so you barely play as Batman and Robin. Plus, the heroes have almost all of the powers that their suits give them, so there's not even anything unique about Batman and Robin anymore. I found the levels to be boring, and the story is just a mess. I mean, it's about being mind-controlled in space. The one good thing about the plot was that the heroes and the villains had to work together, which is kind of fun. I liked that, so I guess I can bump it up the list a bit.
Hey, Batman, it's me, Batmite, your #1 fan in the whole universe. I've decided to tag along and help you out. Oh, this is gonna be so great!
Okay, that's it. It's going in the D tier. This game follows all of the Jurassic Park movies, but the first one you have to play through is Jurassic World, which is an interesting choice. This game suffers a bit from too serious syndrome. Not as bad as Lord of the Rings, but I was definitely missing that LEGO charm. I also felt that the gameplay was lacking, and that's because there is barely any combat. I feel like they thought that having kids beat up dinosaurs would be promoting animal cruelty or something, because you're rarely fighting, and unlike most other LEGO games, when you do actually beat up a dinosaur, they don't die. They just have this swirly animation above their head, which I think is supposed to imply that you knock them out. It's just kind of funny that killing people is fine, but not dinosaurs. So yeah, that did make the gameplay kind of lame because it just feels like you're only puzzle solving. But at least the hub worlds are better than the planets from LEGO Batman 3. It's a C tier for me. I had never even heard of this game before, but it's kind of awesome. So basically in this one, all of the LEGO worlds get mixed up and you play as Batman, Wildstyle, and Gandalf, and travel through them all. And a lot of the worlds you go through have never been in a LEGO game before, like The Wizard of Oz or Scooby-Doo. There's also a physical toy that connects to the game. You can place characters on it and play as them in the game, kind of like an amiibo. But sometimes in the game, in order to progress, you have to move things around on the portal. Between the real-life element and seeing all these different worlds collide, this game is insane and super cool. Now there are some downsides, like there being a bunch of add-ons to the game you have to pay for, and if you're unfamiliar with the franchise they teleport to, you're left feeling kind of lost. Not a huge deal for me though, who hasn't seen a lot of the movies the newer games are based on. Also, I think Wildstyle was a bad choice to have as one of the main 3 characters you play as, because Batman is a character in the LEGO movie. So that just made this feel like the LEGO movie featuring Gandalf. I get picking Batman and Gandalf, because those are probably 2 of the most iconic LEGO games, but I feel like there was a better choice than someone from the LEGO movie. Despite those few complaints though, I think this game is cool. A tier. Okay, I don't know how this happened, but I literally cannot remember this game. This is awkward. I think the fact that I can't remember it speaks volumes. C tier. A new LEGO Star Wars game, but with all the upgraded mechanics the first ones didn't have. Of course it's a banger. However, this game only follows one movie, and it's a little too serious for my liking, so it's going in the A tier. On a scale of 1 to 10, how obvious is it that I'm getting burnt out on LEGO games at this point? I don't know anything about Ninjago. I didn't even know there was a LEGO Ninjago movie. It is just something that was never on my radar, and even if it was, I would never be interested in it. Now that being said, this game is going in the A tier. It's cool. During combat, you can do a bunch of different moves and combos and stun the enemies. All the characters have powers based on the elements, and some characters will have 2 or 3 of these powers. Now, did I care about the story even a little bit? No, not at all. But the levels and gameplay were actually enjoyable, which made up for it. I can't believe I'm ranking LEGO Ninjago so high. Like, I fully expected this to be a C tier. This game is pretty much on par with the last LEGO Marvel superheroes. There are some improvements in gameplay, and it still has the charming, silly LEGO vibe to the story. But other than that, my thoughts on this game are the exact same as the first one. It's going in the B tier. What? You think that I don't have much to say on this game because I'm not a Marvel fan? I mean, maybe. This is a fun one that follows both of the Incredibles movies. But for some unknown reason, you have to play through the second movie first. I really don't get the reasoning there. Even though this is like most of the more recent LEGO games, where it just feels like a retelling of the movie, I thought it worked because the Incredibles are funny movies. So it blended with the LEGO style really well. The levels were decent, and it's fun to play as all the heroes and use their powers. The hub world is pretty big and enjoyable to explore, but it almost looks unfinished to me. I'm sure this was just them trying to replicate the style of the movies, but I don't know. To me, that just makes it look like it's unfinished. But aside from that, the hub world is pretty fun because you get to play as other Pixar characters, and there are these little missions called crime waves, where you have to go stop criminals. This means that I can go fight crime and beat up enemies as Sully from Monsters, Inc., which I find kind of hilarious. I'm putting this game in the A tier. This game totally made up for the hot mess that was LEGO Batman 3. I've always thought that one of the best things about the LEGO Batman games was getting to play as the villains. So an entire game about them sounded like an amazing idea to me. It makes for such a chaotic experience. I mean, you get to command the henchmen that you normally have to fight in other games and have them do things for you. And like a GTA game, as you commit crimes, the police will show up and try to shoot you down. This game also does something totally new. It allows you to create your own custom character that's part of the story. I wasn't too sure about this at first, but I ended up really liking it by the end. You can pick what powers you want your character to have, and they'll gain more as you progress. The other villains acknowledge you and your skills, and it just makes the whole thing feel a lot more immersive. And of course, getting to use all of the unique abilities of the other villains is fun too. The story is a bit more kiddie than usual in this one, but it didn't bother me. These games are family friendly, so it's not like they could make it super dark. Overall, I was surprised by how much I liked this game. I think I'm putting it in the S tier. I'll be honest, I did not like this one. Going from DC supervillains to this game was depressing. The one thing this game did better than the first is that it actually has game-specific cutscenes. They didn't just rip them from the movie like last time. But other than that, I'm really not a fan of anything else. So there really aren't any levels in this game. The entire story mode happens in the hub world, and you just kind of run to different locations and do things there. This was so disappointing to me. Where are my classic fun LEGO levels? I don't like just running around the hub and doing missions until it's time for a boss fight. It just makes it feel even more lackluster than the first one. Also, the bosses in this game just consist of scaling Duplo blocks. That's it. It kinda sucks. The LEGO Movie 2 video game is going in the D tier. At first I thought this game was just going to have the recent trilogy, but no. All 9 movies are in this one. All the levels from the original games get an update, and it's actually good, unlike the second Indiana Jones game. Combat is cool, from using a lightsaber and the Force to using guns where it turns into a third-person shooter. The hub worlds are super fun and huge, unlike the small ones from the previous games, and there's a lot to do and explore. It is a bit more serious than the originals since they're able to talk now, but there are some actually funny moments, and they managed to keep a goofy and lighthearted nature more than I thought they would. And while I'll always have a preference for the silent games, I was actually able to understand what was going on in the prequel movies this time around. This game revamps the old levels, and the new ones are fun and impressive too. It's gotta go in the S tier. I can't believe the last game on this list is LEGO Fortnite. Yeah, so this one is just Fortnite, but it's LEGO. I'm having flashbacks to LEGO Rock Band. I'm not a fan of Fortnite, so I'm putting this one in the D tier. What a lame game to end the video on. Alright, I have done it. I have officially ranked all of the LEGO games. Now, throughout this process, I have come to learn something. I am incredibly biased. I mean, look at the S tier. With the exception of the last 2, they're all games that I played a bunch as a kid and have fond memories of. They're all from that era of LEGO games where they don't talk, which you know I prefer. The less interested I was in the original franchise, the lower I put it on the list. And I think out of all of these games, my favorite is the original LEGO Batman, aka the first LEGO game I ever played, aka the one I've played the most. This isn't objective at all! I bet everyone watching this video would put these in a completely different order, and a lot of you would be biased towards the era you grew up playing. There's probably a whole generation of kids who think that it's stupid that there was ever a point where the LEGO characters didn't talk in the games. So I want to ask all of you what LEGO games you would put in the S tier. I wouldn't be surprised if we all have very different answers. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that while some of these games are better than others, there really isn't a bad LEGO game. They're all pretty fun and perfect for turning your brain off for a little bit. And yes, even LEGO creator Harry Potter isn't terrible. It has its own charm to it. Now, was I totally burnt out and bored of LEGO games by the end? Yes. I think it's pretty obvious based on how little I had to say about some of them. I literally cannot remember this game. But that's because they got to a point where they all started following the same formula, and there really wasn't anything new being introduced. Which is fine. These are lighthearted, family-friendly games that you aren't meant to marathon like I did. Which is why I won't be playing a LEGO game again for a very long time. So yeah, definitely ready to move on from LEGO. So that is going to do it for today's video. If you liked the video, like and subscribe to see more content from me. If there is another topic you want me to make a video on, let me know in the comments below. Also, as you know, I have changed my upload schedule and I'm now uploading these types of videos every other Friday. So I just wanted to let you know that on the Fridays I don't have a video, I've been trying to upload YouTube shorts. Just trying to make some highlights from some of my other content. So if you want to check those out, yeah, go for it. But I'm gonna go ahead and go. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!